Hello. So what I'd like to do today is to follow up on a Nintendo 64 International subset that I've been collecting for about 7 months now. And that is the MSA or Mexico or South American variants. Now, just a brief overview for those of you who may not be familiar with them. What happened is that south of the US border, for certain titles, things were done a little bit differently for licensing and distribution purposes. In some cases, there's indicators on the loose cartridge itself. In some cases, there's indications just on the box and manual. In some cases, it's literally just the back of the box, is like in Spanish or something like that. So anyways, for my part, I'm only worried and concerned with the loose carts because that's what I collect for budgeting and space purposes. And I can confirm 18 loose carts for the MSAA subset. And of those 18, I can say that I'm happy to say at this point that I'm up to 15 of the 18 loose carts. So I've only got 3 more to get to complete my set. So that's just a brief update from me as far as where I'm at with the collection right now. So really nearing the end here. I've only got 3 left. And so, you know, it's been 7 months of very, very hard work as far as, you know, I mean, I'm checking eBay, I'm checking Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, I'm even checking, you know, Mercado Libre in Mexico, Brazil, or Livre in Brazil, I'm sorry. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But anyways, I've been checking these sites basically on a daily basis, and in some cases more than once a day. And so I've managed to kind of, through various sources, cobble this thing together. Anyways, what I wanted to do is that I've really gotten a pretty good idea of the cartridges that are easier to find and the cartridges that are definitely a lot harder to find. And so I wanted to go ahead and cover that today, just in case any of you might be interested in pursuing this subset like I am, you know, or maybe you're just interested in pursuing certain cartridges from the subset, and just maybe general knowledge of which are easier to find, which are harder to find. So I want to clarify that this list that I'm going to give you is based strictly on in terms of availability, okay? I'm not going to get into the, okay, yeah, you know, this cartridge, it happens to be stupidly expensive or anything like that, because there's only one that's really qualifies from the subset on that front. But, you know, I'm talking strictly in terms of, you know, can you go on eBay, Mercari, or wherever and find these? So the first one, and the one that's easiest to find, is ironically considered to be one of the more challenging ones to find as far as collectors are concerned, and that is the WCW Backstage Assault Gray Cart variant. Okay, so yeah, I know it seems funny for me to say that because most people are like, well, yeah, that's a fairly rare cart. But at any given time, you can go on eBay and you can generally find about 5 or 6 of them listed for sale at any given time. So from an availability standpoint, for an MSA to be able to find one, you know, for somebody who lives in the U.S. or Canada, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. So that would be the easiest one. Other ones I would say that come up fairly frequently, I'll cover the other 3 that I think come up frequently enough that I would say you shouldn't have too much difficulty finding these if you're willing to be patient and persistent for a month or 2 to look for them. The next one would be, you know, one of the soccer games, International Superstar Soccer 98 and International Superstar Soccer 64. Both of these, I would say you can generally find one come up on eBay about every 5 to 6 weeks. You know, you just have to, it takes a little patience and dedication, but it's not anything that I think is unmanageable. The last one, and the fourth one that I would say is the easiest to find from the subset, would be Aerofighters Assault. Aerofighters Assault, you'll probably see about one of those, once again, about every, 4 to 6 weeks. they come up just enough. Now, as I said, with these ones, you're really going to have to watch out for them because they're not listed. They're not marked as MSAs. Finding anything marked as MSA is virtually a no-go. You're almost never going to find anything listed as an MSA. But what I'm saying is, if you're willing to be patient and to sift through like the eBay ads and that sort of thing, and zoom in and look at the serials, you can find these at about that frequency. So anyways, those titles, I would say, those are ones that, definitely don't waste your time trying to import those. Just be patient and keep an eye out on eBay and look for that lower serial line to end in MSA rather than USA, because I think all those that I mentioned are serial code only as far as loose cards. All right, now I'm going to get to the 4 that I would say are probably the most challenging or difficult to find. And some of these titles are going to shock you because in the U.S., I mean, these titles are super easy to find, super cheap, readily available. You can find hundreds of listings for them on eBay. But finding an MSA version, number 1, and number 2, because part of the problem with these is not only that you're finding them, but that you're finding one that has a label that isn't thrashed. So many of them that I've found have thrashed labels. So anyways, so here's where I'm going to start. Rampage 2 Universal Tour. This one, I'll be honest with you, I have seen a couple in decent shape, like down in Brazil. I've seen some in really ratty condition in Mexico. And then in the U.S., I think I saw one sold listing from last November on Mercari where I found an MSA Rampage 2 Universal Tour. That's it. And keep in mind, I'm checking basically all the sites you can think of on a daily basis for all the major sites out there where you could possibly find N64 games. And that's what I'm turning up. So Rampage 2, finding one with a label in decent shape, not an easy one to do. Same thing for Mace the Dark Age. Mace the Dark Age is a really interesting one because I've actually found more complete in boxes for MSAs. I found like 3 or 4 of them that were complete in box. Now granted, they were stupidly expensive. But for whatever reason, finding the MSA loose cart for Mace the Dark Age and finding one in good shape is a real challenge. I can honestly say I've found 2 really beat up labels, one in the US and one down in Brazil. But once again, I mean, we're talking like torn, ripped, and faded labels. And they're in barely identifiable condition. And they're just too beat up to the point where I'm just like, why on earth am I going to waste my time or money with these things? So that's one that, as I said, it's kind of an anomaly because it's actually easier to find a complete in box than it is the loose card itself. So once again, finding the loose card itself in decent condition is definitely a pretty big challenge with Mace the Dark Age. But now I'm going to get down to what I consider to be like the top 2. And the titles are going to shock you a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and start out with number 2 on my list. Duke Nukem 0 Hour. And as you can see, this is not pristine, but believe it or not, I've only ever seen a couple of these in better condition, and they sold before I had a chance to grab them. So when I saw this guy came up, I didn't waste any time. I've only seen maybe a grand total of 5 of these in the last 7 months. And once again, keep in mind, we're talking about me looking at sites in Brazil, Mexico, places where I'm going to have to basically hire a guy to be a broker to get these out of Brazil for me. And they're just not common at all. I've even talked to some people on eBay where I was confirming the serial number because that's the only difference. This is a serial code only one. And I said, oh, could you tell me if it ends in MSA or USA because I can't tell from your picture. And I've had several guys go, yeah, they're USA. I said, good luck finding the MSA one. They are not easy to find. So anyways, I found this guy, and even though it's a little bit roughed up here, I didn't hesitate at all. I added it to a bundle that I purchased out of Brazil, and I grabbed it. So as I said, even down in Brazil and Mexico and the various Central and South American countries, good luck finding a Duke Nukem 0 Hour MSA variant in good condition. It's a challenge. It's definitely not easy. The last one, believe it or not, I'm gonna put this guy as number one on my list. If I had to pick one MSA cart that I would say is just an absolute pain to find, and once again, it's not necessarily because the cart in and of itself is the absolute hardest to find, even though it is fairly difficult. It's the fact that so many of them have labels that are just trashed. That finding one in decent shape is very, very difficult. And that is Top Gear Rally. So, yeah, I know. I'm sure a bunch of you are laughing right now because Top Gear Rally, I mean, come on. You can find like 300 copies of this on eBay. But guess what? I have never seen a single Top Gear Rally anywhere on eBay, Mercari. I have never seen one, the MSA variant. I've never seen on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, any of those sites. Never seen one in looking daily for 7 months. I've also only seen a handful of them on like Mercado Libre down in Mexico and Brazil, and the titles, the labels that are on them are they're either badly faded, they're torn, ripped, or whatever. And so I've only ever seen one where the label is maybe a little bit less faded than what I've got right here. And as a matter of fact, the other guy who introduced me to them actually happened to be the one who snagged it before I could grab it. But this guy right here, I would say, finding one in good condition, you're going to have to not only import it, but be patient and hold out for one that has a decent label. Because, as I said, that's about as good as it's going to get for Top Gear Rally for finding an MSA variant. So anyways, once again, those are my my findings as far as what I've looked at, the most difficult to find. And the 3 cards that I'm missing right now, 2 of them were on the hard to find list there, which were Mace the Dark Age, Rampage 2, and ironically, WCW Backstage Assault Grey Cart variant is one that I'm missing as well, and is by choice. It's because it's the most expensive one, so I'm actually saving it for last, just to make sure that I don't, blow the budget on it because it's the most expensive one by far, and then have no money left over if one of these more rare cards pops up. So anyways, those are the 3 that I'm missing, and that's what I'm looking for right now. But I figured I would put those out there, and that way, those of you guys, if you're interested in collecting the set, you kind of know a little bit better of an idea of what to prepare for and what to watch out for. And that's all I've got, and thanks for watching.